the game is so much easier to play when you like the person you're basically doing with and spending your entire time with every single waking moment of the game.
I think Love Story is pretty catchy.
We are halfway through the LCS spring split. It is time to grade every team in the league and find out just how well they're doing with only 7 games left in the regular season. So without further ado, welcome to the pit. Starting off with Team Liquid, it has been up and down, but yet they're still tied for second place in the league, which you can't overall complain about. The difference is the context coming into it. Team Liquid is majorly still the same team. Yes, a different top laner in jungle, but APA, Yawn, and CoreJJ still remain. And through 7 games, it's just as up and down as it was last year. It doesn't feel like much has changed there. It feels like whenever they draft for late game, they're still pretty good, but whenever they have some early game picks and need to close it out, it just doesn't seem to work all that well. So overall grade, I'm gonna go with a B. I don't think you can really complain, all things considered, whenever you're middle of the pack. But there's definitely a lot to be desired still in terms of where this team could go in the future. I know Yawn had some incendiary comments about fans and their thoughts on Lucian in the region, but at the end of the day, I haven't seen him fully perform on it yet. So he can come at fans all he wants. Until we start seeing Lucian pop off and some of those more lane dominant picks do really well, nah. I think the criticism's warranted. Ban it. Shopify Rebellion. We'll say the grade up front. C-. Tied for last place in the league. Haven't really inspired all that much confidence. B-Boy was a bright spot whenever he initially came in. And while yes, they did get the upset over C9, in hindsight, it doesn't look all that impressive. Something about this roster just has not fully clicked yet. They try these unique and interesting drafts, most notably the Scion mid pick, which was supposedly going to be really good, but then you see how they play against 100 Thieves and like it's almost telegraphed at this point. That unique pick that you had becomes one of your counters. When somebody can just go Aatrox into you and then they end up stomping with a better draft, well, yeah, you're kind of screwed. But there's still a ton of time to turn it around. I got the chance to talk to their jungler, Bugi, on his thoughts so far on the split. How you feeling?
Good.
You guys got a pretty...
yeah, my name is Sam. I'm here to translate in case Bugi cannot understand.
Oh, no problem at all. Pleasure to meet you as well. So just walk me through, how does it feel to take down the defending champs?
Before match, the Insanity and me, we had talk. Like we never lose the contract and Palapox, so we had confidence.
Wait, did you guys beat them every time last year as well?
Yeah.
Wow, that's an absurd stat. Wait, I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys have now, you only unfortunately have 2 wins on the season, but those 2 wins are against Cloud9 and NRG.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a positive momentum or positive sign going into the back half of the split?
뭔 소리야?
그러니까 지금 강팀들 상대로만 이기는데 이게 너가 봤을 때 좀 긍정적인 것 같아? 아니면 좀 어떤 느낌이야?
긍정적이다 뭐라 해요?
Positive.
Positive? I think positive, but when we lose game, I think we should win that games. Like first game Fly, I think it was really easy game, but we inting so hard. And second game, 누구지? TL, but that game also we should win. Last week, IMT into IMT, but I inting so hard into IMT, and we won C9. And yesterday, I think just dropped gap. We played fucking mid garden. I think it's not good, and we won today.
You got 100 Thieves tomorrow to close it out. Feeling confident going into it?
Yeah.
You go up against River, who's known to be one of the better junglers. What do you think? What do you have to do against him specifically to neutralize him or to shut him down?
그러니까 리버가 이제 좀 괜찮은 정글러라는 평가를 받고 있잖아. 그 리버를 상대하기 위해서는 어떻게 게임을 플레이를 해야 되는지.
I think 100 team mid jungle synergy is good. I think tomorrow, if we want to win, Insanity and me, we have to talk a lot, like in game. Yeah.
Gotcha. it seems like everybody in the LCS is very close. Like you're not too many games away from first. First is not too far away from last. Do you feel like the strength of the LCS is closer than it was last year?
일단 작년에 비해서 지금 모든 팀들이 비슷비슷하잖아. 작년에 비해서 LCS 수준이 올라가서 그렇게 생각해? 전체적인 수준이 다 올라가서 비슷비슷하다 생각해? 아니면 넌 어떻게 생각해?
Yes.
I don't really have many other questions other than is there anything you want to throw out there to the Shopify fans, to LCS fans, and your fans in general?
We are right now so last place, right? 꼴찌지 아직. Last place.
Tied, but
With IMT. Last place with IMT.
But we will improve a lot during season. So thank you for shut up.
thank you so much for your time, man. Best of luck tomorrow and enjoy the rest of the split.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one. Expectations weren't all that high for Immortals coming into the year. I don't think people really knew what to expect from Mask and Castle, and even though Tactical was looking incredible at the end of last year, there were still some big questions about Ole coming in, and so far through the split, they're middle of the road, which, hey, that's a win in my eyes. B+. Tactical is still looking like the best player on this team, or at least most consistent for sure, because Castle has had some moments where he's popped off, Mask has had some games where he performs decently well, but I got the chance to talk to Tactical and get his thoughts on how things are going so far.
Could be better because we just lost, but otherwise it's good.
I mean, yeah, overall, I know the loss today obviously sucks, but 1-1 on the week so far, absolutely destroying C9 yesterday. You guys are in a pretty good spot overall. It seems like community expectations kind of coming into the year were a little bit lower, but you guys are surpassing them already. What's your thoughts on where you guys currently stand, where you're at, just like general thoughts on the split?
Ooh, well, personally, from my perspective, I think we're pretty solid. It just feels good because I feel like we're making progression overall every day, every week. So. I think there's just some fundamental stuff to work on as a team. I do think we did play a lot worse today than yesterday. Yesterday, I think we played okay, but I also think C9 also did not show up as well. Individually, I wasn't too happy with how I played because I missed a lot of skill shots in Ezreal. But otherwise, as Immortals' team, it's good. It's good.
You guys have played Ezreal, what, 3 of your last 4 games? Today being the first time that you didn't play him with Senna.
Yeah, something like that.
I talked to Joey last week. He said it wasn't something that you guys necessarily like practiced a ton. It was more just like you have a level of comfort on Ezreal that it was able to slot in pretty quick. Do you still feel like really good about Ezreal in the current state of the meta? Like obviously beyond your own skill.
In terms of the Ezreal thing, I was a bit rusty on it because I actually hadn't played Ezreal too much in practice this week because we were practicing other things. So that was like my excuse for the skill shots. But I think Ezreal is more of like our team thing where we have to pick Ezreal Bard, which allows Ole to roam a lot. It's not like because it's not necessarily a pick that wins lane really hard. It's about like just trying to use support timers and roam, I guess. In the C9 game, it was really hard to do much in the early game. We were like losing lane like almost everywhere. So the pick wasn't as like powerful, but we had Iron, which kind of like, in my opinion, saved us.
Yeah.
So we got the like, scale better as well.
I mean, that's hella good. And you have one more game of the week tomorrow. Who do you guys go up against?
Energy.
Ooh, how you feeling?
Same as always. I'm just hoping it's a banger at least.
That's fair. So this year with the LCS, it seems like there's more parity within teams. It seems like in prior years there was always like 1 or 2 teams that like really jumped out far ahead. And even though you have NRG and Flyquest sitting there with only 1 loss, it feels, I don't know if it's just 8 teams or if it's like the league in general. Does it feel on your side like everybody's closer together than it ever has been?
Yeah, I do feel like this is the years where it's for the most teams, it's like less skill gap based. It's more about team who's the better team and who will like draft better or draft their style better than others. Because I feel like in the previous years there was like these powerhouse. There's way more powerhouse teams where like, oh, it's gonna be this team is gonna be really hard to beat because no matter what they like, even no matter what they pick, it's gonna be like you just know it's gonna be harder. I feel like this year, other than maybe like Flyquest and C9 possibly, we're like maybe like basically the top 2. Other than that, it's like more of a even ground.
Okay. Looking forward to close games all around then. Outside of League, what have you been doing for fun to kind of like escape the game, escape the stress of the split?
So in the last off season, I did play a lot of I played MMO. Just to spend a lot. I played MapleStory basically.
Ah, okay.
I still play time, but mainly on the off day. Otherwise, I don't really play. I'm just focused on League right now. We've been practicing a lot. Like this week, for example, we only had 3 days of practice before LCS because it was super weak. But we night blocked every night. And it was like kind of tiring. So, yeah, that's what we just did this week.
Apologies if my dogs go off in the background at all.
I didn't hear them at all, for me at least.
They're not there yet. Give them 30 seconds and a dog down the hallway, and they might be. And they'll take over the call. So I'm curious then, if you enjoy that MMO, are you excited about the potential for a Riot Games MMO in the future?
I think that would be so cool if it turns out well. I think I would probably play it a lot if it ends up being like really cool and stuff. I imagine it's hard to make MMO. It's like
I'm not a game dev, so that's I couldn't tell you.
Making like a super popular one is like I feel like it's really hard.
I mean, they have the tools to do it. You got all the champions, all the characters, all the the different races. I mean, Necron's got 5 different videos out on the things that it could be, so it should be fun. But final 2 things I got for you are more just general 2 TikTok questions.
Okay.
First, Taylor Swift is going to the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs and her boyfriend Travis Kelce. Do you have a favorite Taylor Swift song?
Yes, I think I do actually. I think Love Story is pretty catchy.
That's a fair
probably
choice.
that. Yeah.
Probably one of the more popular answers.
Yes, I imagine so.
And second thing I got for you, do you have a favorite Pokemon?
Pokemon? I actually don't think so.
Did you play Pokemon growing up at all?
I did, but it wasn't super at the point where I knew every Pokemon.
Okay.
So I didn't really have a favorite.
Okay. That's still fair though. At least you played it. I was gonna be worried if you'd never play Pokemon. Then it's you got a whole other genre of game to play, my friend.
Yeah.
So, any final words that you want to give out, whether that's to Immortals fans, people at home, any words you want to get out to the community?
Just want to say to all the fans, I guess, I'm guaranteed going to bring better results this split, so keep looking out for it.
Sounds good. You've been a blast to watch on the Rift. You've been one of my favorite players to see week in and week out. So please keep up the great work, man. You guys are killing it.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you too.
Thinking about it, I'm going to revise my grade because I feel like a good teacher is able to admit when they're wrong. A- for the squad. 1 game off of second place. Granted, we've only played 7 games, but overall, I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen so far from them. And apparently they're doing even better in scrims. So who knows, maybe a good second half of the split could do them wonders. Dignitas, our other 10th place, 10th doesn't exist. Our other tied for 7th or 8th place team in the league. All that hype around the potential Dove and Rich connection that, quite frankly, has not worked out all that well yet. While we've seen some pop-off moments from this roster, and personally, I really like XU and how he's playing on the Rift, you're kind of tied for last, which again, somewhat in line with expectations, but I don't know. This is the one team that, barring XU, I don't really tune into this roster to be yeah, I think they're gonna do something incredible here. They haven't really shown me that they have that level that they can get up to that would allow them to win a playoff series yet. So going into the second half and second round robin, they gotta give me something to work with here. If you want me to buy into the fact that you can win a best of 5, you gotta do something in a best of 1 to prove that you deserve to be there in the first place, which they're fighting an uphill battle just to even get there. For 100 Thieves, as always, if you want to catch full information on them, check out the Rendezvous, which I even had an interview with Meech this week, their star 80 carry, who's still in his rookie year, but already playing pretty damn well and pumping out some pretty good damage numbers. But to still give them a grade, and yes, I'm biased, I don't care, I think this is the truth, they are overperforming at every level, and that's an A+, without question. They're the ones that are ruining the curve. Your still defending champions in NRG are sitting tied for second place, which doesn't sound that bad, right? But it very much is like the same NRG that we hear each and every time, where they somehow are able to contend against the best teams, obviously excluding C9, who they lost to in week 1 in their first game, which they'll have a rematch coming up this weekend. But then they randomly drop games to teams that like they really shouldn't be losing to. But hey, they still beat the teams that they need to win when it comes time. They notably hold head-to-heads over both Team Liquid and 100 Thieves, who they're tied with in the standings. Their coach Thincard has been enjoying the challenge that is this split. I got the chance to pick his brain on just how well it's going so far.
The tie
That is
combo.
the thing.
It's a,
That's
I can't really tell what look it's giving, but it's definitely a different vibe than I'm used to for everything else. Kind of like it. So how's I know lost today, but beyond that, how's everything else going?
pretty good. Just focused on the team. We're just trying to line in how we want to play the game. We've gotten a lot better over the last 2 weeks, so just continuing doing that because we have a lot of different ideas. Bringing Huhi on board, so it's really about just unifying all of our ideas.
I mean, we're pretty much halfway through the split at this point, which is freaking wild to say after 3 weeks, even if we still technically have like 5 actual weeks of gameplay left, given the 2-week break in between. The parity of the league right now is just absurd. We've got bottom teams, or hypothetically speaking, bottom teams beating top teams smashing other top teams, dropping games to bot, close games. Like, what's your thoughts on where the state of LCS teams as a whole is?
Yeah, it does seem like anyone can kind of win at the moment. I do still think that there are like teams on the top that are just more consistent and playing better than other teams. So I would still put us and Flyquest up there. C9 before this weekend, I would have put them up there too, but obviously they kind of boomed this week or something. And I do think Immortals as well is underrated. So we play them again tomorrow, and we'll see how we do against them.
Do you think it would be different if it was best of 3s versus best of 1s? Would there be less parity to it, or do you still think it would be around the same?
I think there'd be less parity. I think we'd probably ban Sion in game 2 when we beat Shopify. So, there'll be less parity for sure. I mean, I wish that we did best of 3s. I think best of 3s prepare you for playoffs more. They make the players kind of work on skills that they need to have by playoffs, and we kind of miss out on that by having best of 1s.
Especially now that we're down to fewer teams, I'm 100% on that board of please next split. Next week, you guys will see the introduction of not only a new patch, but also a new champion, Smolder. What's your thoughts on where Smolder's at right now? Have you had the chance to play around with them at all on live servers, or has it just been like, hey, we'll wait until...
Yeah, I played it. I think when someone who is good at the champion is piloting it, I think it's turbo broken. I think that champion is insane. The win rate's pretty low, which means that it's probably going to get buffed for some reason, and it's going to be even stronger. So that champion is probably going to be a problem, and I probably expect it to get like some professional games as well.
I think there's really not much for me to say on the Smolder front. I was going to ask you about FBI and Huhi. Now, with today's game, the longest duoed bot lane in LCS history of all time. What do you think about the two of them together? I know you have less time, obviously, with the two of them together than when they were with 100 Thieves and obviously Golden Guardians. But what do you think sets the two of them apart from most of the other duos that we've ever seen in the LCS?
It's very clear that they just enjoy playing with each other. They hang out with each other. They play with each other. It's the game is so much easier to play when you like the person you're basically doing with and spending your entire time with every single waking moment of the game. So I think they're really good at just handling what it takes to be a good bot lane. They're good at giving each other criticism. They tease each other. They work on things that they know they need to work on. And there's no bullshit with them. They just kind of say what they need to do, and they hold each other accountable. So they just have everything that a bot lane needs to be a world-class bot lane.
Gotcha. The final question I got for you, a little bit longer one, is this past week, it was announced that there's going to be no roadshow for LCS finals. I guess what's your general thoughts on it? And just bluntly put, if you were to win a second title and go back to back, does raising it in the LCS arena mean as much? Even if obviously, like, first one obviously is going to mean the most out of everything, but that second one, does raising it in the same arena that you're playing the full split, is it the same or is it diminished in any way?
I mean, I expect it to kind of there to be less dopamine for sure. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The sport has to remain or try to get profitable. The sport has to figure out the best way to navigate the ecosystem. So I see why they're getting it. I see why they're doing it. It definitely makes sense, but I think the players are going to be affected by it more. I made a tweet about it too. How Dokla, I think in the beginning of 2023, basically his goal was like, we're going to go stadium bound. Like I'm finally. Like he was really confident in his own play, he was confident in his team, and he was really excited to play in playoffs and play in the stadium. And a lot of the newer players who have never played in the stadium, they're not going to be able to get that in spring. So I feel more badly for them than I do like for myself. To me, it's a player thing.
Fair enough. I mean, it also, there was a narrative for a while there that FBI was never able to convert in the big arenas. Like he won his title during the COVID era, then goes to 2 back-to-back finals in 2022 where can't get past Cloud9 or 2020. Was it 2022? Yeah, it was still 2022. Couldn't get past Cloud9, couldn't get past Evil Geniuses both in the stadium, but then last year finally overcomes that hurdle of like stepping up to the big moments. Like at least on a personal level, I'm not looking forward to not having some of those storylines go through. But I don't know.
It's also like so important for the fans. Like you get to meet up with your friends, like organize these trips to go watch your team play in a stadium because you don't really do that for regular season games. So it also just greatly impacts the fan experience as well for the people that really do like watching their team live and don't want to make the trip to watch in the arena when there's only like a couple hundred people in the arena. So yeah, it's definitely something that hurts, but it does seem necessary.
That's really all I got in terms of my list of questions. Anything you want to throw out there into the ether? Any responses to anything you got?
Same old. Shout out to my coaches. My coaches are incredible. Best coaching staff for sure. And shout out to our players. We're probably going to get some shit for this game. So hopefully everyone keeps it nice. We kind of completely botched an early game, and then the game was impossible to play. So it happens. We live and we learn. We're onwards to Immortals, and hopefully we play better tomorrow.
You win tomorrow, I think all will be forgotten. It'll just be a blip in the radar. So thank you so much for your time, man. Best of luck tomorrow. Right. Looking forward to watching it.
Yep. Thank you.
Have a good one.
What really is there to say about Flyquest that hasn't already been said? They're the best team in the league right now after Super Week. They look even better than they did coming into the week. And everybody's now going to be gunning for them. The target is now on their back. But when you look at how well Bwipo's performing, Inspired is being consistent all the way through. Jensen's a rock in the mid lane. And while bot lane can very much throw some games early and then the team recovers, or they can just absolutely smash early, this team has firepower. And lots of it, and cohesion that clearly, even when they're making mistakes, they're able to recover from them. Meech is already looking like a star-studded talent that will be around in the LCS for a long period of time, and he's only 7 games into his LCS career. That's nuts. But my dude, whenever you're playing against him, like, you're scared about what's gonna happen. I don't look forward to playing against him because I know just as quickly as, for example, the 100 Thieves game, as just as quickly as you solo kill them, they bounce back and get 2 more on you. So yeah, Flyquest, easy A, top of the class, star student. Might not be valedictorian, but definitely the favorite all around. As for the problem child, Cloud9, the super team that's supposed to be crushing everybody, that is now on a 4-game loss streak, and now has to go against NRG and 100 Thieves, who are both playing somewhat decently well right now. Yeah, things don't get easy for them just because they had a skid. I'm looking specifically at the bot lane. They don't look good. Berserker has, I don't know if it's the worst ADC. Berserker, I don't know if he's necessarily the worst ADC in the league, but there's definitely moments where he's just egoing the hell out of it. This past weekend, there was a play where he's stepping up as Lucian, like Eing forward, and then gets immediately hooked and dies. And then they repeat die in bot lane. It's just like, you're costing your team the game. Fudge is actually playing pretty solid in the top lane, but it feels like the game and drafts that they have are just make it impossible for him to really do anything to win the game. So for Cloud9, D-. You haven't failed yet. You can still rebound and arguably turn this thing around, but I mean, so far, like, yeah, you're as close to failing as you could possibly get. How Mithy is the only one that's there to coach this team, and yes, I understand, I think it's Vigar V2 is helping them remotely, but I guess my question and criticism comes to Jojo Pune then, which it's not necessarily anything he's done on the Rift. He played overall well until this past week where he started to collapse a little bit, but why would you take such a high contract if you know it's going to screw your team out of coaches and everything else? Like, sure, you're going with a star-studded lineup, but if NRG proved anything lately, it's that you need coaches to be able to develop everybody and develop the systems around you. The players on their own are not enough to win the LCS anymore. So why you taking such a high contract and then screwing yourself out of coaching? Well, I guess at the same time, like, kudos for him for taking the bag. I can't really blame him. I'm just thinking, like, if I'm him in that situation, I know I'm going into something that, like, the coaching situation isn't great, then I don't know, is that really that great of a situation? I don't know. Cloud9, why are you offering that amount of money and not having anything for coaches? Either way, they need to turn it around. Otherwise, not good. Some quick news around the LCS. I didn't touch on it last week, but we have a new sponsor within the LCS, which is a egg roll sponsor, which, hey, cool. We're still able to get sponsors and money. And actually, I saw a lot of people complaining about this, that it's like not up to the standard of others, but it's like, in terms of products that you would expect to do well with LCS fans, why would it not be something that you can eat while you're playing? That seems common sense to me. Like, this seems like hands down, like, yeah, they're probably gonna get the most value out of this than any other partnership that they have, maybe barring like Verizon or something like that. The only thing that gamers really do is eat, game, and sleep. And you just covered one of them with the sponsorship. So yeah, good on the LCS. Second is that this is going to be the final week before we enter a 2-week break where there's nothing going on. No LCS gameplay, no anything going on. We can watch other regions, but like domestically, I want to put this out there for players, and I saw it mentioned on Twitter, organize some sort of tournament. Like, we need to have something going on during the weekends of this off time to help fill the void if Riot's not going to do anything themselves. Because we cannot just let there be no action happening. And I bring this up now, a week and a half ahead of time. I understand players are prepping for their game this weekend, but like, start getting the ideas out there of, yeah, we got to do something over the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, that viewership's going to drop and your paychecks are going to get worse. So keep that in mind, please. And now let's talk about the first week of the second half of the season. The schedule is over here on the right. The current standings are there as well. And rather than going through like individual matchups, one thing that I want to do is I want to talk about like the second half of the season as a whole. And I want to place a 5-bet parlay. There's no actual odds to this, but it's just 5 things that I think will happen. And if they all happen together, we can track it through the next few episodes, and it'll be a fun little game to do. The first leg of this parlay, I think Immortals is going to walk out of the second half of this with a winning record. At least 4-3, if not better. I'm down with it. They've already looked good against some of the top teams, and I think they can take games off of NRG, 100 Thieves, Team Liquid. Maybe not Flyquest at the moment. They're the only one that really feels like if somebody's going to beat them, like they really got to overperform, but we've already seen Immortals kind of do that. So I feel fairly confident in that first leg of the parlay. Second, I know we haven't touched on MVP races yet for spring, and I know it's probably too early, but I want to place that the second leg of the parlay is that River will end up being MVP of the spring split. If 100 Thieves does what they did again in the second half, it is going to be a majority because, yes, Quid is performing well, Sniper's leveling up, Meech and Ayla are playing well, but ultimately River just has been hard leveling up every team that he's a part of. And when you look at like definition of most valuable player, the player that when you remove them, the whole identity of a team changes, that's what he does. So I'm gonna say River MVP for the second leg of that parlay. The third is that NRG is finally going to get somebody on first All-Pro, and that is going to be Palafox. Even when looking at Flyquest, Jensen has been good, but I think Palafox has had some more pop-off moments. Obviously, the Tristana game is going to come to most people's minds for Jensen, but I just think over the course of even their wins and losses, Palafox has played incredibly well. Mid lane is a fairly stacked role this year within the LCS. Quid's playing well, Mask has had his moment. I don't think most people are going to include APA. Dove has had moments that challenge others, but overall, just like the mechanical skill level of mid lane in general is high. But I think Palafox hitting first All-Pro would be a good sign for NRG that their players are starting to get the recognition they deserve, and would also require them to have a decent second half of the split. So, he's my man, my guaranteed lock first All-Pro. JoJo Pum fans everywhere crying somewhat. The fourth leg of the parlay is that Shopify is going to finish last. I had to put one kind of negative, sad thing here. If I had to pick between them and Dignitas, who I think are the clear-cut bottom two right now, I haven't seen anything from Shopify to really inspire me that they might climb up higher. They're doing unique drafts, which to me is like a symbol of like, we can't beat you standard, so we're gonna try something different and try and win that way. And when that's not even working, what happens when they go back to standard after they've received so much public backlash and criticism, which Ayla has already said in public interviews that yes, public opinion of them does affect champions they pick, things that they do occasionally. So yeah, I think they go back to standard drafting and then just get smashed. In a world where the LCS mechanical skill level has gotten better year over year, Shopify unfortunately feels like they're kind of stuck in 2023. And finally, Smolder is now going to be live for the rest of the year. And I'm predicting for the fifth leg of the parlay that Smolder's gonna get a quadra kill. I don't think he's gonna get picked enough to get a penta. I think he's gonna be banned almost every single game. If he gets through once, then teams are gonna auto pick him and auto win. And all you have to do is just get the 225 stacks, and his execute is just going to deal damage on this league. I'm curious to see if Smolder becomes as hated as Zeri. I don't think Smolder's as annoying to play against as Zeri, because Zeri had like that insane mobility, and other than Smolder's E-dash, like a little fly around, like he's still fairly immobile. It's just a matter of getting on top of him and like dogpiling him the second you can. So we'll see, but I feel like it's gonna lead to one or two fails that end up giving him a quadra and maybe a penta, but I'm going with the safer bet of the quadra kill. So that is everything for the pit this week. Again, 2 more days of games before we have a 2-week break. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to drop a like, comment down below who you think is gonna walk out with the best record that is not Flyquest in the second round robin. And I'll see you next week as we recap everything going into the break. Adios, have fun.